We're back. Another week, another episode of Coop Radio talks about NASCAR. Welcome, everybody, back into another Tuesday morning if you're listening to it on time. Recording this Monday night as always. Excited to be back after an exciting weekend at Bristol, which is nice to say. It's nice to say that we've had some fun racing at a short track. It's the first time I can say that about the Cup Series in what feels like a long time, but we'll get into that later on. I'm going to go a little bit out of order in this episode. Normally, I cover all the news of the previous week, and then I dive into the weekend's happenings from all of the races that we got to watch. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently this week. We're going to start with this. Ty Gibbs getting his first victory in the NASCAR Cup Series of his career this past weekend at Bristol. In very exciting fashion. Got it off of pit strategy, so some people will mark him for that. I do have a couple of clips and stuff that I want to play later on, but I think the number one thing I have to get out of the way first is, listen, out of anybody and everybody that has came through the Cup Series as of late, I don't think I have seen as much like generalized, unlike, I don't know if it gets to the point of hatred, but generalized unlike or disdain or dislike for a certain driver. I don't know if I've seen this much directed towards one person in quite some time. And funny enough, it has nothing to do with anything he's done on track in the Cup Series. Remember, I want to put that out there in the Cup Series. As far as stuff that he did, in the O'Reilly series, that's a different story. But I don't think I've seen somebody with just such disdain on a generalized populace of NASCAR fans as much as I've seen towards Ty Gibbs versus anybody else. Because of the simple fact that obviously he has the last name Gibbs, and we all know why he's there. And it's nobody likes him for it. And he's the whole silver spoon thing and blah, 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 blah. And he's not very good and everything else, Listen, I'll be the first one to say earlier this season, I said two specific Cup Series drivers need to step up this year. And one of them was Alex Bowman, which we'll get to later on. And another one was Ty. I said out of all the last how many years that he's been in the Cup Series, it has been lackluster at best. He has been the obvious fourth car in that team year in and year out, regardless of whoever's been in the 19, regardless of whoever has been in the 20, or, whoever is running well this week. It's never usually Ty. And usually you'd expect, okay, well, if he can't be good in ovals, he had some decently good runs in road courses in the O'Reilly series. Maybe that'll translate, and it never even translated there. He would be teens to maybe a top 10 at certain points during road courses every now and then, but it was not a week to week occurrence that he was running up towards the front. And look, some of the hate is warranted. If you're going to sit here and ask me, hey, do you like him as a person? Do you think he's probably a good guy? I'll be straight up. I don't think he's probably a very fun person to hang out with as a person. I am saying this from a perspective of not ever meeting him or really having a conversation with him. I've seen him in person, but I never had a conversation with him. And besides that, I have very little interaction with him. The only interaction I can say I have had with him was, this is 3-4 years ago, maybe at this point. It was probably, maybe not 3 or 4, but maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I was on iRacing with the league I'm usually racing with on Tuesdays, and we just did a random hosted race that he hopped into and was a menace in. But that's, it's iRacing. Not too many people take it seriously. It's a video game. Oh, God. any iRacing fans out there will get really mad at the fact that I called it a video game. It's a video game. So some people don't take it seriously, and somebody like him obviously won't take it seriously because, he's racing in real life and, he doesn't have to sit here and play pretend on iRacing. So as far as my opinion on him personally, I don't think he'd be the greatest person to hang out with. Even in his interview after the race, you just get a weird vibe from the person. Like he's an odd guy in a lot of different ways, in the way that he presents himself, the way he talks, the way he acts sometimes. But also you kind of got to remember, I mean, how old is he? I think he's only 20. I think he's still a very young guy. Yeah, okay, he's 23. So he's not that young. He's 23, but it's still relatively young. My point being, you can bang on him all you want for the type of person that he probably is. And we've heard the stories, especially this year with the whole Chris Gabehart JGR lawsuit, and obviously the stuff that came out about Ty through Discovery and, through that lawsuit in general. Already, the stuff we've heard about Ty showing up late to meetings and there being different standards for drivers with the other three drivers versus him. There's obviously a lot to rag on him about. But listen, the whole idea of the silver spoon thing, it's very easy for fans to point at that and say that's why we should criticize him. There's so many other reasons why you could criticize him. You can criticize him for his personality. You can criticize him for the things he's done on track. You can criticize him for, like I said, the different standards that maybe he has. But nobody really seemingly criticizes him on that too much. It's more so everyone, because it's very easy to point at this whole silver spoon thing. As if you go on Twitter or X, on the Couch Racer account, whoever is running that account, pointed out something very, very, very interesting that I think more people need to listen to. This person tweeted, imagine being a diehard Dale Jr. fan and complaining that Ty Gibbs is a silver spoon kid. Chase Elliott fans don't have much room to talk either. Please tell us which bad rides he had to drive on his yellow brick road to Cup. That was by the @Couch Racer Shop account on X, friend of the show, Couch Racer account. They're not wrong. They are not wrong at all. The person who pointed this out. They are making a valid point that all these people that are fans of NASCAR, that are obviously much more fans of, because Chase Elliott has the obvious bigger fan base and Dale Jr. has the even bigger fan base than that, people are willing to push aside or excuse certain things for certain people and then criticize others extremely harshly. Again, I want to point out the simple fact that I am not a Ty Gibbs fan and I am not sitting here defending him, but I am pointing out something that needs to be said in the sense that I've already pointed this out on previous shows as well. NASCAR in itself is a nepotism sport. It is a silver spoon sport. There are so many, countless people who have gotten opportunities. I said this last week ad nauseum. There's so many people who have gotten countless opportunities that they maybe didn't deserve or maybe didn't earn, but because of the fact of whoever they're related to, whoever their son or daughter that they are to, or whoever they're friends with, or whoever they know, or whatever sponsor they have backing them, they get opportunities that maybe somebody else is probably more deserving of. But the fact is that for whatever reason, whatever combination of what I just mentioned there, they don't get that opportunity and somebody else does. You can sit there and say, yes, there are probably people at the time, maybe that Ty wasn't as good as, that if they got the opportunities in Gibbs, then maybe they probably already have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins in the Cup Series by this point. But it took Ty how many extra years to get to his first? So I'm not arguing that point. My point is, look, being mad about the fact that some kid who's the grandson of one of the owners of the NASCAR, of one of the biggest NASCAR teams that we currently have, being mad at the fact that he gets opportunities that somebody else doesn't or that you didn't get because of who he's related to, there's no point in being mad about that. There's no point in getting upset about it or letting it bug you. I let it bug me forever about Austin Dillon. The fact that Austin Dillon got all these opportunities at RCR and he got to be in the Cup Series now in the RCR and he got to drive the 3 car. Now, maybe to me, personally, the 3 car argument to me is a little bit different. I still feel like the 3 car should be retired, and not just by RCR, but by NASCAR as a whole, for the obvious reason of, the history of that and the tragic ending of the person who drove that car. That being said, I was also one of those people that let it bother me that Austin Dillon was still in an RCR car, and he still is today, and he's still mediocre at best, and he's still never able to really make the chase besides winning his way in, and never able to really have any sort of year where, he was really good this one year. He was never very good, ever. He was just like any other guy who would run mid-pack the entire time, just out there having fun, and then every now and then he would have a good run, or every now and then he would luck into a win. And to me, it bothered me forever. And then I realized at one point, look, this is the sport that I have. This is the sport that I'm a fan of. Letting it bother me and get to me as much as it doesn't make any sense, and it's pointless. And it's pointless for you sitting at home right now listening to me to allow Ty Gibbs getting his first win in Cup and seeing him celebrate and drive his mom around and jumping all around like a crazed kid and getting in Joe Gibbs' interview and talking there and being all hyped and letting it bug you so much over the fact that he shouldn't be in that opportunity. He's just lucky that he's there. He just gets all the best equipment and he gets to jump around like he's amazing and he's great and whatever. And you feel slighted for whatever reason, whether you're a driver yourself and you feel like you should be sitting there, or you're a fan and one of your favorite drivers that's stuck in the O'Reilly series or stuck in trucks or stuck in ARCA or stuck in late models didn't get that opportunity. For whatever reason it is, at the end of the day, he's not going anywhere. He's definitely not going anywhere now. He's going to be in that 54 car at Joe Gibbs Racing for as long as either A, he wants to continue to race, or B, Joe Gibbs stays in business. He will be in one of those cars. If you think that Joe Gibbs would pick, let's say Joe Gibbs had to shrink down from 4 cars to 1 car, and Joe had to pick only one driver to drive that car every week, do you really think he's going to pick Christopher Bell? Do you really think he's going to pick Chase Briscoe or Denny Hamlin or any of the litany of O'Reilly series drivers that he has in his camp? No, he's going to pick his grandson. This is a sport of nepotism. Dale Jr., a nepotism. A nepotism opportunity. Chase Elliott, same thing. I pointed out Austin Cindric last week. He's a nepotism thing. Austin Dillon, the same thing. If you want to go way back in history, Davey Allison's one of those off of his dad, Bobby Allison. There are countless people. Michael Waltrip. Do you think Michael would have continuously kept getting the opportunities he got if his last name wasn't Waltrip? Do you think he would have been put in the 15 car if he wasn't friends with Dale Earnhardt? The sport is built off of nepotism in so many different ways. So getting mad over this one person getting this opportunity and just pushing aside the fact that there are so many other people in the entire history of NASCAR that get the same opportunities in the same way. And it's because you don't like Ty and you think he didn't earn it, but yet somehow Dale Jr. and Chase Elliott and all these other people, they earned it. Somehow they're so much better. Somehow, look at Dale. I'm walking on sacrilegious land by saying this, but look at Dale Jr. How many years did he spend being mediocre at best in a Hendrick Cup car, winning every now and then, but we all just excused it because it's Dale Jr. and we like him and he's like one of us and he's Dale Earnhardt's son. So therefore we like him and we're willing to give him so much more leash and so much more grace. But God forbid Ty Gibbs, we don't like, hey, like I said, I'm never going to sit here and be like, yay, Ty Gibbs. But I'm also going to go ahead and point out the simple fact that, like, it's kind of the same thing. You just don't like Ty. Understandably. But that's why you don't like him being in that position. And you point that out about him rather than somebody else. The tweet I said earlier, somebody responded, and at Ellis Maria responded saying, by the way, their name is also Go HMS. So that should tell you all you need to know right there as far as, you know, somebody who is an unbiased person here. This person points out, they said, imagine being this clown and thinking two of the most humble guys in the sport, being Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Chase Elliott, didn't earn their way into Cup. You are such a clown. The Couch Racer account responded saying, switching gears to humble versus the facts that all three had rich families with racing resources to pave the way. Well done, clown. That is also a good point. The argument is not, hey, Ty is not humble. This is another reason why not a lot of people like him. It's obvious he's got an ego. It's obvious that he has a lot of people around him that are kind of probably yes men. People that he probably calls friends that just sit there and kiss his ass because he's got a ton of money and they want to be associated with somebody that has a lot of money in the hopes that they maybe could take some money off of him. And so because of that, because he has yes men all around him that tell him how great he is and tell him how he's the best and how it's nobody else's fault and it's never his. It's never his fault. It's always everybody else's. That probably drives him to be the person that he is. Somebody also pointed out that John Hunter is another nepotism hire. I didn't even think about John Hunter. Another one. NASCAR is very much a family sport. It's not just owned by one singular family, but it's a family sport across the board where family members get opportunities and get positions that everybody else, you could sit there and go to that UTI college down in like Charlotte, North Carolina or something like that, wherever it is, where there's like, they have the NASCAR classes that are specific to trying to get into NASCAR. Brother, you could go take those fucking classes and I guarantee you won't get a major opportunity versus somebody else who just happens to be related to somebody who's already hired there and they pass you by tenfold. It's because you're not in the family. You're not a part of it. Other people get opportunities that you don't get because you just don't know the right people. Now, that's also life. Life is also that, hey, you try to get hired at a job anywhere. You got all the right credentials. You went to college for however many years you needed to. You got the degree. You go to get hired. They say, sorry, we're not taking you. And then you find out that wherever you're trying to get hired, say you're fucking trying to get hired at Google, you find out that the CEO's grandson, who has almost no interest in whatever job you applied to do at Google, he gets your position without ever having to go to school, without ever having to pay a dime, without ever having to work his ass off or whatever. And he passes you by and there's nothing you can do about it. That's also life. It's not just NASCAR. That's just life in general. So you can take one of two paths. You can either sit there and you can continuously only hurt yourself at this point by crying and whining over the fact that somebody like Ty is sitting in the Cup Series and gets his first Cup Series win. Meanwhile, somebody like Corey LaJoie or somebody like Matt DiBenedetto or somebody like, whomever is still stuck in the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series and can't break through. I mean, you want to talk about more nepotism, Carson Quaffel's another one. Anybody remember Travis Quaffel? Todd Gilliland. Does anybody remember David Gilliland? The two Burtons that are down in the O'Reilly Series right now, Jeb and Harrison. Does anybody remember Ward Burton and Jeff Burton? Like, it's across the board. So to pinpoint on this one guy and to point him out as like this his silver spoon, blah, blah, blah. Dude, half the fucking drivers in NASCAR are silver spoon at this point. So to sit there and cry about it is like, there's no point. There is no point. Let it go. As far as Ty himself, look, I think really that this is the start for Ty. I don't think that this is his only win. He's been running too well as of late, and he's been up front too much for this to be his only one. Usually what happens is guys run top 5, top 3, top 10 a lot over and over and over and over and over again for weeks upon weeks, and they can't break through. They can't break through. They can't get that win. They either make a mistake or something happens or some bad luck or they just weren't just barely not fast enough and they finish second or third. The whole Sheldon Creed thing took him, 15 second places before he first got his win? With everybody else, once you get that first win, the floodgates usually open because that hang up of that first win sits above your head for forever, and it's a weight on your shoulders, and it bugs you, and it makes you tense up, and it makes you hesitant as far as certain decisions that you might make on track because you don't want to make a mistake and then give away your first win because, oh my God, I've been so close so many times. Is it ever going to happen? But then once you finally get that first win, then it's almost like you relax. There's that weight off your shoulders. You take a deep breath. Okay. The first one's out of the way. Now I can go forward. And now you drive with a whole different attitude. You drive with a whole different feel. You have this weight off your shoulders and you feel so much better. And usually you're starting to stack up more wins after that. Now, am I going to sit here and say that Ty's going to win 7, 8 races? No. He'll win maybe a couple more. Maybe. I think he'll win at least one more at some point this season. I think he'll at least get a second. Denny, we're going to talk more about Denny later on, but I want to try to play some more clips on the show. Denny had something to say about Ty's win. Let's hear Denny Hamlin comment on Ty Gibbs' win this past weekend at Bristol.
Ty Gibbs gets his first win, unsurprisingly. For the last 5-6 weeks, he's been someone that's been in the top 5 to 8 finishing wise. Running maybe is good or better than that. Gibbs is putting himself in that very small group of guys that are up front every single week. And what I've noticed personally from the off season to now, a much more positive attitude. Whatever it is certainly working well. He's really been working with Kevin Harvick quite a bit in his sim sessions, and I think Kevin's a great asset to him. I'm absolutely confident that Coy was very proud in that moment. He's gotten so much criticism, silver spoon, Nepo baby, whatever it might be, like for so many years, and he just handled it great. He never really addressed it, never defended it. Like I try to explain to him a few times we're on the ride to the racetrack together, and when I was your age, I was still barely winning late model races, like barely. Sometimes it takes age and some experience to figure out what it takes to be successful in the Cup Series, and I think that he's starting to figure that out.
One thing, we'll get back to Denny in a second because he said something else on this podcast that I really want to talk about here. But one thing that he did say there that I also want to point out, listen, when Ty, that is, was in the O'Reilly series for those X amount of years, he was very loud, he was very brash, he was not afraid to say his piece, he was very aggressive on track. There's that famous clip of him wiping out his own teammate at Bristol, I believe it was, maybe. He's gotten into fights with people like Sam Mayer. He's said a lot of things, done a lot of things. And then he got to Cup. And he was silent. And I mean dead silent. He didn't barely say anything. He didn't really do any interviews as far as I saw. Maybe some people interviewed him and talked about some things here and there, but he didn't really ever say anything controversial. He didn't go out there and be like, it's so-and-so, it's this and that, and blah, 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 blah. Like, he didn't go out and do that. It was almost like somebody got in his ear and said, hey, okay, you made it to the Cup Series. Now I want you to do me a favor. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, put your head down, and try your best to learn this car because it is nothing like you have drove yet. You think you're so good in the O'Reilly series? Well, guess what, buddy? This car is completely different from anything you've drove. So get ready to be tough times, getting your ass kicked, not running well, and try your best to figure this thing out as fast as you can. In the meantime, keep your fucking mouth shut. And funny enough, Ty Gibbs that is, didn't actually say anything controversial or anything too interesting in interviews or anything like that until a couple weeks ago when he had a good run and it was coming off the heels of the start of the JGR Gabehart lawsuit. Right off the heels of that whole, he's not very, he gets the special treatment. He gets to do certain things that others don't get to do, blah, blah, blah. It came off the heels of that. And then he had his little comment about how I finally got the right people in the right places thing, taking a shot at Gabehart. And I really do think that little piece about Ty, about how, like I said, he gets superficial treatment and he doesn't have to go to meetings that others do and he gets to show up late and show up whenever he wants. I think it got to him. I think it got to him. I think it lit a fire under his ass a bit to say, fuck this. You know what? I'm so sick of these guys taking cheap shots at me and talking crap about me and me not having the runs that I want to have. And it lit a fire under his ass, and I think it got to him in the best way possible, in the sense that it put him in a position to actually try and go for that win and actually try to keep running well. And I don't think it's a coincidence, or I don't think it's an irony that, like, the week after that whole shebang, shaboo, whatever, I don't think that it's a coincidence that the very next week after all that stuff came out about him, all of a sudden he's running well. All of a sudden he's top 5 and he's top 10 at least, and he's running up front and he's leading laps and he almost won this week. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that in some ways was the best thing that could have happened to him. He got called out. He got called out and he got put in the spotlight again. Something that he hadn't been in Like I said, since he left the O'Reilly Series and joined the Cup Series, he hadn't been in any sort of spotlight. He just kind of was hidden in the background and 20-something usually, or somewhere in the teens. Now all of a sudden he's at the forefront. Now all of a sudden the spotlight's on him again. And you know what? Hate him, don't hate him, whatever. Look, you want to talk about nepotism hires, you want to talk about silver spoon. He's looked better. Again, he's in better equipment. He's looked better than some of the other nepotism hires we've had as of late. You know what I mean? Like, how often is Austin Cindric really running up front lead laps? Oh, it's only Penske. Penske's the top 4 team in NASCAR. The top 3 teams are Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske. He's in one of the top 3 teams. He's in the 2 car, which everyone expects to be the best running car on the team of Penske. Like, hello? Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it takes some time. And maybe with Ty, it just took a little bit of extra time. Speaking of Denny, he said something that I want to address because there's this stigma that Denny, I think, for some reason, has thrown out there that I hadn't heard from anybody else, but I want to allow Denny to say his piece here, and then I'm going to have another clip after this, and we're going to shut Denny down on this and shut this narrative down before it gets started. So I didn't listen to the whole podcast, okay? I don't usually listen to Denny's whole podcast. I don't have time, nor do I have the interest. But he did say this week on his podcast.
Clearly, RCR is not good right now. It's time to be honest about what's going on. I think that he doesn't know how to get the speed out of the next-gen car on a consistent basis. There's been flashes of it, and yes, he won 3 races his first season at RCR. Everyone was guessing. Everybody was guessing at that point. Look at any of the statistics of the dispersion of dots were on lap times in 2022 at any particular track. And look at that same track today in 2026. The whole field went from spread like this to like this. Everyone's so close now. It's a tough time right now. And I hate seeing it. Kyle is a competitor who hates losing. I know it's eating at him alive how bad he's running every week. Clearly,
So for anybody who doesn't know or didn't catch it, he's talking about Kyle Busch. I'm going to say something here and then we'll play this other clip. First of all, at least he did preface it by saying, obviously, RCR isn't very good. At least he did preface it by saying that. Denny, for some reason, feels like, I don't know where he gets this perspective of, and good God, the guys that are on this show come out with some of the coldest takes, I swear to God, and Denny is now contributing his own cold take. I don't know where he got this idea that, like, Kyle has lost a step or that it's Kyle Busch's fault in any way, shape, or form as to why this team can't figure it out. Look, RCR, and it was even kind of demonstrated a little bit this last weekend, RCR isn't really the greatest across the board. It seems like their obvious team that they were actually very good was the O'Reilly Series team that they had. Jesse Love competes for wins. He won the championship last year. Austin Hill's good at every super speedway. Every time that they go there, he's either finishing first or second usually, or, he's usually winning, to be quite honest. Leading laps like a motherfucker, like just insane numbers. And yet, the Cup Series side of RCR has lacked speed, has lacked talent, has lacked a lot of things for a very long time. Like, I think people think about RCR in the sense that it's a it's a good team. And it is all solely on the backs of one person. One person who hasn't been around since 2001. And ever since then, people have continuously thought in their minds that like this team is still very good, or even not very good, but is still okay based off of the building blocks that he created, Dale Earnhardt created. And so because of that, people have had this, perception of RCR as like this staple team within NASCAR that's good. They have how many championships? I think it's like 5 out of his 7. It's 5 or 6 out of his 7. I don't remember the exact number. But like, because of that, people have this idea that like, oh man, he's really good. Or excuse me, that team is very good. And has been for so many years, but I don't think people realize how far the team has fallen. I mean, we remember the years, if you're a NASCAR fan, you remember the years of like how it looked after Dale passed away and how the slow decline of the team happened, where it was the Kevin Harvick show. Kevin Harvick was the main guy for RCR. And yeah, you had people come in like Clint Boyer was there, part of the team for a few years, and he bounced around different numbers. And then Jeff Burton was there for a little bit in the 31. And then also Ryan Newman was there in the 31. And, then they slowly started to lose cars. They went to, only a couple cars. They went from 4 to 3 to 2. And now they've stayed at 2. And then you've had other teams. They've had years where it was, they had remember they had Tyler Reddick in there in the 8 car, and he was kind of just okay. He was never really that good. And then, funny enough, he moves to a different team, and all of a sudden, oh man, now all of a sudden the talent arises. Kevin Harvick's the other perfect example, somebody who, by the end of his time in RCR, was miserable to the point where he saw the writing on the wall where RCR was bringing in his, or Richard was bringing in his grandsons to start piloting those cars, and realized, my God, this team is going to be a mess. These guys have fucking no talent at all. I mean, you want to talk about Silver Spoon. He was seeing the writing on the wall there as far as like, oh my God, these guys this is not going to work. This, I don't want to be here anymore. And then there's that famous interview of him at Martinsville getting into it with, I believe, Ty or Austin. I think it was Ty. In the truck series where he was parked in the team's pit road and somebody threw a sledgehammer at the car, and then he got out of the truck and, in his interview was like, yeah, that's why I'm leaving RCR, is because you got these kids coming up who are, spoon fed and, whatever the hell else he said in the interview. And so the decline of RCR has been very much on the board. And there was something that happened this past weekend, some clip that somebody posted from this past weekend that I have to play, that I think it epitomizes the state of this team as a whole. That epitomizes the state of the 8 car. And I think it backs up my feeling as far as, look, I will just go on record and say right now, it's not Kyle. It's not Kyle. So this is a clip from this past weekend's race at Bristol, where a radio chatter happened. I don't know what part of the race this was, but this is radio communication from the 8 team, and it's not Kyle Busch yelling on the radio.
All right, tell me about it. What do we need to do to get in the corner better, you think?
Dude, it's right rear stick. All right rear stick. I feel like I have a 4,000-pound right rear spring. And it heats up the right rear tire, and it fucking goes away.
Okay, 10-4. And what about, so tell me about short run versus long run. Like later in the race, if we get a short run, does it need to be tighter out front even more than later?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, like I'm fighting the same things at the fire off as I am right now.
Okay, good. Obviously not good, but thank you for the info.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's real or not, but the back of the car just feels like it loses weight and just gets freer and freer. Like it just doesn't feel like it loses load, right?
Yeah, 10-4. I'm going to probably pull a quarter round out of your right rear here.
Bar load in it overnight?
Negative.
Is that a good change or a bad change? Because like right now, I got to get in the corner. Like I don't have anything to get in the corner. I don't have anything to lean on. I feel like when I get off in the corner and I pick up banking, the rear just wants to pass the front.
Now I'm going to pause it here. This is kind of a longer clip. This is 4 minutes, but we'll listen to the full thing because, why not? You can hear it. Kyle is not, he's obviously frustrated, but from the Kyle Busch that you're used to as a fan, you expect him to be yelling. You expect him to be swearing a lot more. You expect him to be a lot more upset. But he's somewhat tame. He's somewhat even keel. He's obviously frustrated. You can tell over the fact that he's like, look, man, I don't know what, I'm giving you the info and the car's just not working for me. You can tell that he's frustrated, but he's not really being loud about it. So let's continue the clip.
Copy. What is the frickin' problem now? Is the thing sideways or is it plowing? What the fuck does it look like?
Just that's not Kyle.
In the corner. Why? I don't get it. We tighten it up, and why can't it get in the fucking corner?
I don't know. I've got a headset on, not a helmet. I don't know.
I don't know if I need to play the rest of this clip, but that right there should epitomize this team, RCR, the 8 car, everything as far as what is wrong with this team. I want you to listen to this again. Think about this for a second. Now, I don't know if Jim Pullen is an actual good crew chief. I believe he used to be on the 7 car, or he used to work for Junior Motorsports. I know that. He used to work for Junior Motorsports in the O'Reilly series. I assume he's a good crew chief. I would assume. But again, O'Reilly series, Cup series are 2 different animals. But again, here, I want you to listen to this again and think about this. This is the crew chief of what is supposed to be a good Cup Series team. And this is what the crew chief, the guy who's running the show for the team, who's supposed to know everything, who's supposed to be informed, who's supposed to know what to do in X position and know how to, know how to set up a race-winning car or know how to set up a fast car. This is what he has to say over the radio.
Why? I don't get it. We tighten it up, and why can't it get in the fucking corner?
I don't know. I've got a headset on, not a helmet. I don't know.
Keep tightening it up, and we keep going slower.
That right there tells me, I'm going to let the rest of this clip play out here in a minute, but that tells me, that is so red flag. It's not Kyle. Listen, the driver gets paid the most. He is the most important. There's a reason why he gets paid the most, is because his ability within the car is pivotal as far as being able to win races and be successful. But it does not matter how talented you are. It does not matter how much you learn about the car. It does not matter how hard you try. If the materials that you are given are so lackluster and are so underperforming are so just bad. It doesn't matter how good you are if the materials you are given are trash. Tyler Reddick used to race for the 8 car, wasn't very good till he got out of RCR, left. Now all of a sudden, look at him now. One of the best guys every week. He's got 4 wins to his name already and a 60-some point lead to second place in the point standings. Look at Martin Truex. Martin Truex used to race for NWR there. Was a mid-level guy, had 1 win to his name in the 56, got out, went to a different team. Funny enough, that team aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing, which at that time, it still is, the top team in NASCAR, or one of the top teams in NASCAR. All of a sudden, he's winning races. All of a sudden, he won a championship. Kyle Larson, although he had a good season or good seasons at Ganassi, was just a guy who showed a lot of potential, a guy who showed a lot of speed at times, looked decent most weeks. Went from that to saying a racial slur and then getting to Hendrick, where all of a sudden now he's a multi-time champion. All of a sudden he's having seasons where he's winning 10 races. All of a sudden he's touted as the best driver in motorsports. And then you see the correlation from Kyle Busch, who went from winning multiple championships with Joe Gibbs Racing, 60-some wins to his name, goes to RCR, and tanks. Can't even finish top 20 most weeks. So, is it really him? You know, if you wanted to make the argument about Kyle if he stayed at the same team, you know, the Jimmy Johnson thing. Jimmy Johnson never left Hendrick before he retired. Was in that 48 the whole time. And then all of a sudden the wins weren't coming. All of a sudden he wasn't running as well. And then they started making changes they moved Chad Canales out and moved him over to William Byron's team. And they given Kevin Mendeering in there for his crew chief. Oh, that's supposed to really change things. That'll turn Jimmy back up to being the champion racer that he is. And it never happened. That's the example of where, okay, it's Jimmy's fault. That's on Jimmy. It's not the team. Jimmy's taking a step back. This is a different example. It's not Kyle. I am about 99.9% sure that if you put him in what I assume to be next year, he'll be an Aspire car. I'm about 99.9% sure he'll be running top 10 and top 5 again next year. If he's with a different team. But he is in such mental purgatory where he knows and understands, look, the ingredients that I'm being asked to make food out of are just heaps of garbage that have been scooped out of the local landfill, thrown on the table, and I'm being told to make chicken masu. I'm being told to make gourmet steaks. I'm being asked to do something that just isn't possible. I might be the fucking one of the greatest chefs that has ever lived or ever existed, and I'll be in the Hall of Fame of chefs, but it doesn't matter because you're giving me literal poop. You're throwing poop on the table and asking me to turn this poop into some edible food that some rich person will want to pay $1,000 for or whatever. Like, it's just not, it's not possible with the ingredients and the tools you're giving me. I'm gonna let the rest of this clip play out and see if anything else interesting comes out of this.
I'm tight, headlight low, pushing on you, inside, hang on.
Oh, this is where you're not seeing it, but this is where Kyle got spun by Riley Herbst,
Lock it back down.
which I'll talk about later too.
Right.
get in reverse here when you can. Don't go farther. Coming only 1 lane higher. Stop.
Did you lose a lap?
Yep. All right, obviously we're going to need some tires, still loose in.
No different. Put 4 tires on it when it's our turn. We are a lap down, so 4 tires, quarter round out of the right rear. Another quarter out of the right rear. I'm going to dump a bunch of air pressure out of the right rear too. But keep going with it until it's can get in the freaking corner here.
Listen, I know you're frustrated. I don't like running 30th either, but us yelling at each other during the race isn't going to help shit. Like, we got to keep the glue molded together here. Like, we're all still in it together, and it's not over. We're only barely halfway through this thing.
That's the spotter trying to tell the crew chief to calm down. That's not a good
copy?
sign. You copy?
Yeah, I copy. The same shit every week.
Well, whose fault is that, Poland? I don't know, man. Whose fault is that? At some point, is that really Kyle's fault, or is that, maybe maybe it isn't Poland's fault either. Maybe it's the car they're unloading with isn't there. They don't get enough practice to try to make up for it. I get that. I understand. Some things just can't be fixed by certain people. I get it. But blaming Kyle or saying that Kyle has lost a step is not correct. It's not correct. I really don't believe that. I still don't think that he is the problem. I mean, look, hey, even the point standings, look, he's 24th right now, right around where Josh Berry and Eric Jones are. If you want to talk about, like, well, if he's really that bad, then Austin should be beating him. If he's the problem, his teammate should be the one beating him in the points right now. Austin's 27th. He's behind Kyle by 3 spots. So what that tells me, by seeing those two only, the difference between them is 2 spots. Kyle's 24th, Austin's 27th. You know what that tells me? That's the team. Anybody else in their mother would say, yeah, that's the team, obviously. That's not Kyle. The team, that's how good they can be. And those guys are frustrated, fairly so, that they can't figure it out. They can't find the speed. This team had the speed the first year that Kyle moved over to the 8. They won 3 races, like Denny pointed out, and that's great and all, but they don't have the speed now. And the team don't have the speed now. And I don't know what they lost, but they got to figure it out. Because if they, I'm pretty sure they lost Kyle mentally. But if there was any chance, and I mean, they have no chance, but if there was any chance that they were to try to bring him back to RCR, it needs to start now. Like, they need to start running top 10, top 5 now, which it won't happen. So there's almost no point in talking about it, But that being said, speaking of Kyle, I wanted to bring this up because, like I said, we're doing the show all out of order. Kyle was involved in multiple wrecks this past weekend at Bristol. One, I spoke about earlier. He got hit in the rear by Riley Herbst, who I was not surprised. He had a good qualifying run, and I immediately looked at it and said, yeah, he won't last up there. And he didn't. He ended up multiple laps down. Where exactly? He was only 1 lap down. Sorry. Only 1 lap down. He 21st. But not surprisingly, though, Riley was involved in some sort of incident, this time with Kyle Busch. And then there was an incident at the end of the race, or towards the end of the race, as Ty was running down the laps and getting ready for his first win. of his Cup Series career. There's a caution late. That was Riley Herbst. And it was off of the nose of Kyle Busch, where Kyle got into Riley coming off the corner, got him sideways, didn't let off of him because, he wrecked him earlier in the race. And so it's only fair to pay that person back for what he did, and ended up spinning him down into the inside. So I didn't see any issue with it. To me, that's racing. I don't think that Kyle did it intentionally. I will say this, I don't think he did it intentionally, but also at the same time, Riley did spin him earlier in the race, 100-some laps in, and then 400 laps in, he found Riley again. Riley kind of lost it a little bit himself, and at the end of the day, Kyle just said, well, I'm just not going to give you any room. I'm not going to give you any time to save it. You lost it. That's your fault. So, that being said, speaking of podcast clips, there's another podcast clip that I wanted to play here that really... God, this just bugs me. This bugs me so much. And this is going to also go into the Truck Series talk here in a minute as well. But I want to play this clip. I swear to God, people are just... It's cold take after cold take after cold take after cold take with some of these people that do the Dirty Mo Media podcasts. Let's listen to another podcast that I've literally never listened to. And I've only heard clips of. Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi's little podcast there. Let's hear what they had to say about the Kyle Busch Riley Herbst incident.
Is that fair game, what Kyle Busch did there? I mean, we talk about intentional wrecking and stuff that caused a potentially race-altering caution. Now, he did get turned by Riley Herbst early in the race, so I guess he can go back and do that.
This is the problem, and this is where the gray area is. This is, you want the rough and tumble, you want the eye for the eye, you want the short track racing. He did me dirty. I got one coming back. He's got one coming back thing. But you're going to have moments like this. And so where is that line? I honestly don't have an issue with what Kyle Busch did because that's part of the ethos that NASCAR is.
Now, he should have stopped here. He should have stopped there. He shouldn't have said anything else there. Right? That should have been the end of his point. Okay? Yet, he couldn't mentally realize that, and he had to go ahead and say this as well.
But to your point, the ramifications from that are, pretty significant. I don't know how you police that. Maybe it's as simple as in the moment, NASCAR just says, hey, we're penalizing you a lap.
Now, that is just fucking stupid as shit. That is just dumb. Also, this is a clip on Instagram. I'm reading all the comments on Instagram. Everybody is completely in disagreement of this. Somebody says, no, what Kyle did is what NASCAR needs. I don't know about that. You want to see the payback. You don't want to see drivers going at it. Don't water the sport down more than what it already has. By the way, yes, the sport is already so watered down. Number two, I don't think he did it on purpose. Like I said, Riley was already kind of out of control coming off the corner. Kyle just didn't help him. Kyle didn't back off and, do the respectful thing of giving him time to try to save it. No, he just said, you lost it. Well, I guess you're going around because you lost it. Somebody else also commented, stop, this is an F1. Completely agree. Somebody else commented, he did nothing wrong. Completely agree. They're right. Somebody else said, isn't every caution a race-altering caution? Yes. Chase Oliver, spelled CHACE_Oliver. Yes, sir, on Instagram. You're fucking correct. Every single caution is race-altering. So this idea, and this is what my point was going to be, is I'm not even going to let Jordan fucking finish his comment because whatever he's going to say is fucking stupid. What I was going to say is the simple fact that are we going to sit there and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and we're going to pinpoint every single fucking caution that ever happens ever on track and be, should this be a fucking lap penalty? Or is it because, it's inside of 10 laps and it almost could have cost Ty his first win. Therefore, we're going to penalize somebody. That's dumbest shit ever. And this is where some people, I'm so glad that you don't have a say in you. People will listen to you like you do, but I'm so glad he is in a position of you have an opinion on what we should do in the future of our sport, and we listen to you and we take your opinion seriously. I'm so glad that's not the case. I'm so glad. Because it's people like this and it's shit like this that dumbs down the sport and does ruin the sport. This hurts the sport as a whole if you were to ever adopt something like that. Because your whole identity, your whole culture that you've built your sport around is based off of that exact type of racing of, in Jordan Bianchi's words, the rough and tumble racing that you see. The whole idea that the bump and run is just a normal thing that you see at every single short track. Somebody else commented, I don't think it wasn't intentional. I think they meant, maybe let's listen to this person. I don't think it wasn't intentional in the way everyone is saying. Herbst got loose exiting the corner and Kyle ran in the back of him. Like I said, Kyle probably didn't cut him a break, but it's not like he straight up dumped him as they are trying to portray. So, okay, he meant to say, I don't think it was intentional. NASCAR media wants so desperately to make this a thing and create a storyline to hide the fact that the race was boring to the final 15 laps. Now, I don't totally agree with that last part. I don't think it was boring. If you compare it to other races at other tracks, maybe you can categorize it as boring, but we're putting this into its own little echo chamber of other Bristol races that we've seen in the next gen car or just short track races in general. And it was an improvement based off of previous short track races. Let's look through some of these other comments. I mean, it is pretty. Everyone's all saying the same thing. Another one says there was nothing wrong with it. If that's race altering, then how many times have we seen it in the past called racing incident? Come on, lads, get a grip. I mean, Jesus, somebody's saying lads. You already know you got the fucking UK audience. The F1 audience is even saying, come on, dude, what the fuck are we even talking about here? Listen, this idea that, and this goes hand in hand with the truck race. If you watch the truck race, a lot of self spins, a lot of guys just losing it, it wasn't the worst race, but it was just a truck. It was a normal truck race. But the biggest thing that came out of that truck race, besides Christopher Bell winning, was the Christian Eckes Corey Heim incident, where Heim made a pass on Christian Eckes. I don't remember how many it was to go. I mean, it wasn't, inside of 5 or 10 to go. I mean, there's still a decent amount of time left. And in my opinion, Eckes misjudged getting behind Corey Heim and inevitably right hooked him going into turn 1, spun him out, destroyed his car, destroyed Caden Honeycutt, hurt a lot of other people, and Eckes walked away fine. I saw across social media, everyone wants Christian Eckes' head. Everyone's talking about him. He fucking freaked out and he did it on purpose and it was intentional and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, not every fucking wreck is intentional. Number one, these guys are truck race guys. They ain't the cream of the crop. These guys ain't the greatest racers on the planet. We love Corey Heim. We think he's amazing, but I mean, he might flunk out in Cup. You never fucking know. I don't think he will, but you never know. Christian Eckes is another prime example of a guy who got the opportunity in the O'Reilly series. It didn't work out. He's back in trucks, and he's a truck guy probably. He's a truck guy. So my point being is, like, they're not the greatest drivers. They don't have 20 years of experience. They're all still young. These guys are still young, that is. And Eckes made a mistake. And Yeah, did it maybe cost Corey Heim $500,000? Yeah, maybe, probably. But like, he made a mistake. I really believe that. Eckes said in his post-race interview, I made a mistake. I took away $500,000 from him. I feel bad. Even Corey Heim isn't sitting there bad-mouthing Christian Eckes. Go back and listen to what Corey Heim said after the race. He was talking about how he doesn't even think that he did it on purpose. Even Heim said, I think he just misjudged it. We're all good. But yeah, you got all these other fucking people on social media crying and bitching about, he did it on purpose. He right hooked him. He freaked out, and, you know, no respect for Christian Eckes, and all the respect for, and that was the other thing too. Everyone took Corey Heim's interview as though he was just trying to save face, and that he was just trying to be real professional. That was the other thing everyone was saying, was like, oh, kudos to Corey Heim for being professional and just keeping his cool and not you know, addressing it, not, you know, whatever. Like, guy fucking made a mistake. Let it go. It's so sad to see, like, these are the fans that are left, are the people that, like, just freak out over the, like, smallest incidents on track. Like, the guy made a mistake. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Riley Herbst lost it a little bit in the corner, and Kyle just, he didn't help him. He didn't hurt him, but he didn't help him. And so Riley just kind of lost it on his own almost. He kind of lost it off of Kyle's nose. That wasn't Kyle making Riley lose it. That was Riley losing it almost off of Kyle's nose. But oh my God, that was intentional. He did that on purpose. He didn't back up off of him and to let him save it. That's intentional. He should get a lap penalty for that. Give me a fucking break. You kidding me? At that point, if they started doing that, that might almost make me turn it off. If that's the kind of shit that we're doing now, like, listen, NASCAR's been around for 75 plus years. I have a long catalog of races that I can go back and watch. And I'm talking Cup Series, Truck Series, O'Reilly Series, what used to be the Busch Series. Like, I have a long plethora of television race events that I can watch for the rest of my life. And I would never have to watch another new NASCAR race for the rest of my life, and I'd be set. I'd be set. I could just, every weekend, like normal, instead of watching the live races that happen every weekend, you know, in today land, in 2026, I could just go back and start from when the first NASCAR televised event happened. That's probably on YouTube somewhere. And I can go back and I can just rewatch that and just start from there and just watch all of the televised events. I'm talking NASCAR, I'm talking truck, I'm talking O'Reilly Series, or now the Busch Series back then. I can go back and watch all that and be set for my life, and I would never have to see another new race for the rest of my life. And I'd be totally entertained. I guarantee you there are races that happen in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s that I never saw. That would be all new content for me because I didn't watch the Busch Series race in 1992 that happened at New Hampshire. I didn't watch the fucking Richmond race in 1986 in the Busch Series or the Cup Series. I didn't watch those. I didn't watch that race. So it'd be all new content for me. So, like, if that ever actually happened, now I don't think it will. Thank God. But if that ever actually did happen, this might just turn into a throwback podcast. I might be coming on here every week talking about the 1992 Talladega race. You know, I might be coming back here talking about the 1979 Richmond race. You know, I hope that never happens, but Jesus Christ, some people, there's a real split. You're either the super sensitive, pseudo open wheel F1, like autist fan of NASCAR who, like, good God, sometimes when NASCAR shoots fans in the crowd, I put my head down and just get secondhand embarrassment from some of the people that are sitting in the stands there. And most of the time they're wearing Chase Elliott gear. I just cringe at it. I do. But you're either one of those fans or you're just the normal everyday NASCAR fan who remembers the actual popular years of the sport and reminisces on those days and wishes for the popularity back then to be the way it is now and to, have the type of personalities that you used to have now within the sport. You wish for those days every single day, and then it never happens and it never comes, but you wish for it. You're either one of those two fans. I'm the latter. Trust me. I might be autistic, but I'm not one of the former fans where I'm that kind of autistic. Well, I kind of talked about the truck race there a little bit. I mean, congrats to Christopher Bell. Eckes was pretty fast all race long. Like I said, I kind of covered the Eckes Corey Heim deal. I'm you want to talk about guys not running well. Daniel Suarez was like, 30-something for most of the race. And that's a truck race. And he's in Spire equipment in a truck race, and he can't break the top 10. Oh, but it's not Daniel Suarez's fault that he's the shits most weeks in Cup. It's not his fault. Kyle had speaking of Kyle also, he had a shot where he almost won if he didn't, stall the truck out. And he blamed it on something about the pace car going slow. Maybe it's that. Maybe it was just the truck was getting real low on gas and, just couldn't fire. And he lost like 10 spots, I think, due to it. But shit happens. Kyle still finished 8th. He was still up front towards the end. Listen, the truck series is ruled by one guy as long as he shows up, that being Corey Heim, and everybody else is kind of a mixture. As far as who will actually compete for the championship, I think, Chandler Smith finished 2nd. I think he'll be in contention. Ruggiero finished 3rd. I don't know if he'll be a true contender for the championship. I think he'll be a 5th or 6th guy in the point standings. I mean, if we're looking at the point standings now in the truck series, is Corey Heim still leading it? Okay, he's not. Funny enough, Corey Heim's 3rd now. But Chandler Smith is actually, funny enough, the points leader in the truck series, followed by Caden Honeycutt, Corey Heim, of course. Lane Riggs is 4th. Christian Eckes is 5th. Ruggiero 6th. Ty Majeski 7th, which honestly surprises me. I kind of expected Ty to be running a little bit better to start the season. Ben Rhodes 8th. Ben Rhodes is another one who had I think he had a mechanical issue where his truck kept shutting off, like on that last run when he was actually trying to make a run and probably finish top 5, top 3. His truck started shutting off and he lost a bunch of spots. And Jake Garcia's 9th, Justin Haley 10th. That's the first Ram truck that I'm surprised he's 10th. Friesen's 11th. Ankram's 12th, Tanner Gray 13th, Brendan Queen is 14th. That kind of surprised me that he's beating Grant Enfinger in 15th. Hemrick, funny enough, I was going to mention Hemrick, but he kind of slipped my mind as far as former RCR guys that didn't work out. That might have been the Hemrick. That might be on Hemrick. That may have not been on RCR. Looking down the list, trying to see some other interesting names. Minnie Tyrell's 21st. I don't want to talk about Daniel Dye. He's 25th. That should tell you something there. Daniel Dye technically is 25th in points after only running 3 races, whereas Corey LaJoy has ran 4 and he's 28th. Not great. But hey, next week trucks are off. I believe next week is ARCA and Cup are the only 2 that are at Kansas. So trucks are off next week. Like I said, good finish for Christopher Bell. Congrats to him. On to the O'Reilly Series race. It was kind of uneventful for most of it. There was some single car spins. They had 8 cautions, which is kind of surprising, but a lot of it was not, too crazy of stuff. Shout out Brent Cruz. That dude is a fucking beast. Guy was running down Larson and Zilich at the front there towards the end, was banging the wall as he was trying to run the top. I mean, he was definitely overdriving the shit out of that car, but there were points where he was making it work because that top side was just working so well for him. And the other guys were just committed to the bottom. I don't know if they thought that the bottom was going to, work just as well, or if they were kind of behind on the top side working, but Cruz was making that top side work. He was killing it. Had a chance to win, kind of fell off there towards the end. I think he just ran his shit too hard, or, the times where he got into the wall kind of caught up to him a little bit. But it was the Kyle Larson show, which didn't surprise me. Kind of like the Cup Series, it was the Kyle Larson show for most of the race. And pit strategy, I think, was the defining factor for why Larson didn't win. Also, Larson kind of also made a mistake at 3 and 4 when both him and Zilich were on the top. I think Larson was just trying to push too hard to try to get back to Zilich and overstepped it a bit and got in the wall and gave Zilich the win. But didn't give Zilich the win. I should take that back. Zilich was probably still going to win anyways. He just couldn't catch him. So shout out to Zilich. Another week that Zilich is racing, and another win for him in the O'Reilly Series. Not too surprising. The one thing that was that is starting to become a concern is, speaking of RCR, this is what I was alluding to earlier. RCR is just not, they don't got the speed. And you want to talk about a team that just, the 21 especially, just doesn't have the speed right now. There's so many times I looked up at that pylon, and I mean, Austin finished 21st in this race, and that was really where he ran all race. I mean, there was only a couple times where I saw him up towards the top 10, but he really wasn't even in the top 10. He was around 20th, 21st for like the whole fucking race. I get it. He's super speedway genius or Jesus. And, that's his bread and butter. And that'll be the only place he'll be able to find speed and be good. But I mean, if you want to compete for the championship, I expect better than 20th at Bristol. And look, I understand, we'll get to the Cup Series race in a minute. I understand the Cup Series being a little bit different in the sense that, hey, some weeks you got it and some weeks you don't. And if you're off by just a little bit, I mean, that kills you. I get that when it comes to the Cup Series. But there's only a few viable teams in the O'Reilly Series to where, I mean, you should be at least, if not in the top 10, competing for the fucking top 10 every week. I mean, that should just be the baseline. I mean, even Jesse Love, it's not even an Austin Hill thing. Jesse Love finished 12th. Didn't lead any laps. I mean, I kind of saw him fiddle around the top 10 a little bit at times, or around the top 10, but nothing too crazy good there either. I mean, I guess you just have, listen, like I've said in podcasts previous, Junior Motorsports, Joe Gibbs, Haas Factory Team, and RCR. Like, that's it. Those are the only viable teams every single week that you could see winning races or see running up front in the top 10. I mean, look at this. Besides Viking Motorsports, they're the exception here. Top 10. Junior Motorsports, Joe Gibbs, Junior Motorsports, Haas Factory Team, Joe Gibbs, Rick Hendrick, which is technically Junior Motorsports, the one Viking Motorsports car, and then Joe Gibbs Racing. Like, it's all the same guys. And RCR 12th and 21st isn't going to cut it. And it's not like this is a one-time thing either, especially with the 21. Vegas was another example to me that I thought, I'm like, hey, Austin Hills ran well there in the past. He's been either competing for wins there in the past, or he's almost won a race there in the past. Like, expect him to be top 5. And he was outside the top 10 for most of it. Like, just missing. And so my whole thing is, look, if they're going to be in contention for another championship this year, they gotta They got to fix something. I mean, at 21, I just don't think they'll be a legit contender for the championship. I mean, you can't be running 21st at Bristol and around the top 10 or outside the top 10 every week at normal mile and a halfs or just tracks you're going to be racing in the chase. Sorry, Austin, not every race in the chase is a super speedway race or a drafting track race. Like, it's all a mishmash of shit. So, and I don't know. Jesse Love is their best bet, obviously. It'll be interesting to see if they can, like I said, figure their shit out as the season goes on. Any other interesting facts about the race? Not really. I mean, I'm looking through. It's kind of, I mean, the thing at the end was the most interesting thing about the O'Reilly Series race. The one thing I will say, is a thing every week. The O'Reilly Series race was the best race of the weekend. Shout out, I guess I'll say this too. I don't know what happened with Adam Alexander. He wasn't in the broadcast this week. Some sort of family emergency where he couldn't be in the broadcast. Understandable. But I wanted to shout out that Welch kid. What's his first name? I think it's Vince Welch's kid. I can't remember his name. Sorry, I can't remember. Dylan Welch. Shout out to Dylan Welch. He actually did a very good job. And you know what? Funny enough, Dylan Welch's job, short notice, thrown in there to be the lead commentator, basically. Like, short notice for how well he did. It shows, I think, how bad Jamie Little really is. Because if you go back and listen to that Truck Series broadcast, and then listen to the O'Reilly Series broadcast, like, it's not even so, like, Jamie McMurray also is a much better, I really believe, I think he's a much better commentator. Same thing with Parker Kligerman as well. I think both of those guys, they're much better commentators, color commentators, than they have ever been racers. I understand Jamie Baby, he won some crown jewel races, but I mean, he was just okay for most of his career. Parker Kligerman's an O'Reilly Series guy. Like, you know what I mean? He's fine. Both those guys, though, get them in a commentary booth and get them to be color commentators on a NASCAR race. Compared to the other crews, amazing. That's why I say to anybody out there who's not watching the O'Reilly Series races and is just watching Cup, go fucking listen to the O'Reilly Series races. They're so much better, man. So much better. Everything about them, the racing, the racing product, the commentary, the presentation, everything across the board is so much better. So go fucking watch the O'Reilly Series races, if anything. Cup Series race. I wanted to blow by this pretty quick. Alex Bowman made his return this past weekend. You know, as far as what happened in the race, I kind of already covered the major things that happened in the race. Ty Gibbs winning. Ryan Blaney had a hell of a race. He seemed like the fastest guy. Larson won both stages, and the Kyle Busch thing was the most interesting thing I think that happened. Talking about Alex Bowman, though. There was a clip of Alex Bowman in an interview earlier this week, and I wanted to go ahead and play it. He talked about how he got asked a question here that from our Claire B. Lang, who's a longtime reporter in NASCAR, had a question for him and the president and GM of Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Andrews. Let's go ahead and listen to Alex Bowman here on this interview question.
You know, it seems so unfair, Alex, the things that have happened to you, and it's just hard to believe how you can handle it time after time. One of the reasons is Hendrick Motorsports really seems to stand behind you to go through things like this. Jeff, can you talk about that? And then, Alex, what Hendrick meant for you to be able to come back with another issue and have them ride it out with you?
Before he answers that question, I just want to go ahead and say right off the rip, this idea that, like, Alex's career, I understand he's had some injuries. He's been out of the car for periods of time because of that. So people would categorize that as unfair, as Claire put it. Unfair. I personally would chalk it up to, hey, look, people go through different things at different times. Some people go through an entire sports career without a single injury. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady had one major injury in his entire 20-some year career. Some people get riddled with injuries, and it ruins their career. I will just go ahead and say this on the record before Jeff even says anything in this to answer her question. Alex's struggles have nothing to do with his injuries. They have nothing to do with the time that he has been out of the car. They have been a smattering of different things. It is not one continuous thing that continuously holds him out. I'm pretty sure one of them was a concussion. Obviously, this vertigo thing was the most recent one. He's, his struggles as far as him being the obvious fourth guy every year is not due to injuries. And so for that, to paint it almost in that question of like, this is what is holding you back, and this is what has hindered you in your career is these injuries, and that's why it's so unfair. Listen, life ain't fair, number one. Number two, even when he's been in the car and had full healthy seasons where he hasn't missed a race, he's been just mid. He's been just okay. He's been the consistent fourth guy almost every year for Hendrick. And when you're going to hear Alex's answer here, if you have heard any of my previous discussions that I've had here on the show already about Alex, as far as his feeling on being in the Cup Series and feeling on being a part of Hendrick and such, you'll hear his answer is going to sound very familiar. But let's hear Jeff's response here to Claire's question.
I think Claire certainly, Alex Bowman's always been the driver of the number 48, Ally Chevrolet, and we never had, questions about whose seat that was. I think we said that early on that, we would follow 100% the medical guidelines that we were given, plan Alex's return when it was medically cleared, and then as well when Alex said he was ready. And so, for us, Alex is part of our team. He's a key teammate for us, and been an integral part of our company for quite some time. So we were willing to do what we needed to do to wait for him and get him back in at the right time. I think it's a testament to Alex, and how hard he worked to be back, a week early. I mean, these guys are athletes, right? And there's a lot of stories out there about athletes working hard and overcoming adversity and getting back in race cars sooner than expected. So we're happy to have him back, proud of the work he put in, and ready to go racing here this next, 19 weeks, and we'll see where the points fall.
Number one, to Jeff's answer there, where he kind of very quickly was like, Alex was our guy, and we were never going to go anywhere else as far as having anybody else in the car. I don't think really Claire asked that question. I know she asked the question about them being committed to him in the car. But the way he answered it, I almost interpreted it as like, no, we never thought about really replacing him. It's like, no, well, the question was we never thought that he was going to be replaced. I don't think anybody really thought he's going to be replaced this year and he's not going to be back in the car this year, because most people would not look fondly on the team for replacing somebody, because of an injury. That's not really his fault or his doing. If you were to be upset at somebody like a Chase Elliott for going out snowboarding and then breaking his leg or something like that, it's a little bit different. But, Alex's thing wasn't even, something that, I made a bad decision and therefore I'm out of the car for X amount of weeks because of that. It was just happenstance. So I kind of found that a little bit interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much into that. I don't know. I probably am. But Let's this is what's going to be interesting to me. And this is what everybody should be listening to, is Alex's response to Claire's question here.
Yeah, for me, to answer the second part of your question, Claire, I think, it just meant a lot to have everybody at HMS's support, and also everybody at Ally and Chevy and everybody that makes this deal possible, right? Like, I've put HMS in a tough spot multiple times now in the last, 5 years or whatever it's been, since 4 years, since 22, 23, and now this. So, they've probably, given me more grace at times than I deserve. So super thankful for that, and just ready to get back rolling.
More grace than I deserve. It's the guilt tripping thing. This is what he does all the time. Is he just guilt trips people all the time. He always talks about how I'm just biding my time till, they find somebody else, kind of answers. Oh, I'm just happy to be here, kind of answers. Never confident, never I deserve this ride, never I've earned this opportunity, never confident in himself. Always just somewhat, I don't want to say somewhat, content. That's not really the right word, but it is kind of just somewhat content. Someone just, happy to be here, happy to show up, happy to get the money that I get, happy to have this opportunity, because God knows if I wasn't in this car, I don't even think he'd get. Some people might think that this is a hot take. I don't know if he'd get an O'Reilly Series or a Truck Series ride. Listen, he'd obviously be willing to take a pay cut. My whole thing is, if he were to try to go get an O'Reilly Series ride, where's the sponsor backing? Because no one understands something. Ally is not sponsoring Alex Bowman. They're sponsoring the 48 car. So if Alex were to leave Hendrick and go to the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series, Ally is not following Alex. They are going to let him leave, and then whether it's Corey Day or somebody else who fills in that 48 car, Ally is going to stay there. Or better yet, Ally will just leave entirety of the sport. Ally was there before Alex, and they may be there after him. I just, they're talking about how, we'll just see how the rest of this 19 weeks or whatever he said goes and see where the points fall. Number one, Alex isn't making the chase. He's to me, if I'm Alex, or if I'm advising Alex, I'm telling him, look, we're just going for wins. We're not trying. Maybe we can start by just trying to get consistent top fives and top tens, but after this, I don't give a fuck about points. After this, we're just trying to go for wins. Trying to see if we can get any more wins in this 48 car. Because, we've been struggling in that department for a couple of years now. But also, if I'm Alex, this year, I was going to say, hey, look, you're racing for your ride, but I have this bad feeling that HMS as a whole is going to continuously keep doing what they always do with Alex, which is baby him. Just give him more time. Just give him another year. Well, he was hurt this year, so I want to give him another whole year next year. See what happens in 27. It definitely won't be the same as 22 and 23 and 24 and 25 and 26. It won't be the same. It'll be different this time. I really do believe, unless Alex wins some races and shows some promise this year, he's overstayed his welcome in that car. I know some Alex Bowman fans might not like it. And look, hey, this is the difference between him and Ty, is I actually think that Alex would be a nice guy. I feel like I get the vibe that he's a nice guy. And maybe it is the whole act that he puts on about the, I'm just happy to be here. Everyone's way too generous to me, and I'm so glad, that whole comment there about, they're probably giving me too many chances than I probably deserve. And he says it in a way, and he points it out, obviously, to get people to go, oh, no, that's not true, Alex. He does it in a way to, like, guilt trip people. And some other people might be like, oh, that's not his intentions. Really? You really believe that? I'm not sitting here saying that Alex isn't a nice guy, but you can be a nice guy and do somewhat underhanded stuff like that. And maybe his intention isn't even underhanded. Maybe it's just, again, the lack of confidence that he has in himself. But that is kind of it's a crappy thing to do. Because whether you're intentionally doing it or not, you are guilt tripping people into feeling sorry for you. So that if and when you do probably get fired from HMS and replaced in that 48 car, oh, everyone's going to feel so bad for you, and everyone's going to be so upset over, oh, Alex didn't deserve to get fired and blah, 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 blah. He deserved another year. Or everyone will be hoping that he gets an O'Reilly Series ride or a Truck Series ride so he can keep racing. Or get hired at a lower-end car in Cup and replace, like, Ricky Stenhouse in the 47 or something like that. But honestly, I think that that's probably the best role for him at this point is if and when Ricky retires or Hayek Motorsports or whatever they're called move on from Ricky Stenhouse. That's probably the role for Alex, is to go to the 47 car and just run that for the rest of his career. Single car team, small single car team, and just try to run for top 20s. Because we've seen him in top end equipment for 8 years now. And I just don't see it. The thing is like, I don't see the breakout. We haven't seen the breakout year yet. We haven't seen the year where, oh man, he's really taken the next step forward. We've seen it with everyone else in Hendrick. We've seen it with William Byron. We've seen it with Chase Elliott. We've seen it with Kyle Larson. Like, all these different guys have had super breakout years where it's like, oh, okay, they've taken the next step now. Now they're actually championship contenders. We haven't seen it with Alex. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with him going forward, but I just have a high probability. I feel like there's a high probability that we won't see him win. I mean, this last week at Bristol, it wasn't great either. Even before he got wrecked out, it wasn't great. I don't see it. And I don't see how people can continuously keep having as much patience as they do with him. And all because he's a nice guy. Some point that nice guy thing runs out, and you have to do what is right for your company and for your business and for your team. So, anyways, not too much else happened from the Cup Series race. And so for that, I wanted to touch on a couple of small things here. Number one, preseason Thunder is back in 2027. Thank God. That's what I meant to say. Thank God that is back. Any opportunity that we get to see more practice for these guys in the Cup Series is a good thing, I think. More opportunity for the cars to get on track. More opportunity for us to see maybe some people close the gap a little bit. Improvements to the cars. Any opportunity for guys to get more practice. Some people might be like, oh, it hurts the smaller teams. It really doesn't. Because these smaller teams don't have what it takes equipment-wise at the shop compared to these other bigger teams to come to the racetrack with a good setup. So then the smaller teams are already behind and they get no practice to try to make up that gap. Well, now they have the opportunity to try to make up that gap in practice. All that time practicing, all that time testing, that's their opportunity to try to close that gap a little bit by actually being on the track. That being said, also, even if you were to say, well, it actually doesn't close up the gap, more opportunities to see cars on track is better. It is a better thing because it allows us as fans heading into Daytona to kind of start to feel the, ooh, cars are on track now, kind of start to hype us up. I can't find the tweet. There was a tweet that I thought I bookmarked it, but I guess I didn't. There was a tweet from Carson Hocevar, and I'm not going to sit here and try to find it. But basically, long story short, some fan said they made some comment about how, just seeing cars, going around in blank cars and just in a test isn't very exciting. And then Carson made some comment back saying basically, look, seeing guys in a garage area practicing, or not even practicing, but just like, with fake hype videos isn't exactly exciting either as far as getting us excited for the season or getting us excited for Daytona, which I completely agree with. I would much rather see cars on track in test sessions. That is such a nostalgic throwback thing that did get you excited as a fan for Daytona and for the season, was guys in late January, early February down in Daytona running those blank gray cars, just running small little packs and just seeing them go around the track. You don't think it's that big of a deal. You don't think it matters because, it's such a small, insignificant thing. But it does matter. To fans out there, it does matter. It does get them excited. And it is worth it to me. The other thing that happened, as far as speaking of super speedways, the changes to the super speedway stage breaks was announced earlier today, actually. Since I'm recording this Monday, it was announced earlier today. Stages are now, I believe I'm going to double check before I say, but I believe it was like 90 something and 45 and 45. Here is so NASCAR will alter the stage lengths for Talladega to try to counteract the mass fuel saving that happens during the races. The length at Talladega will now be 98 laps, 45 and 45, making the last stages not require green flag pit stops. Here's the official statement. I will go ahead and read this. I don't know if I need to read it, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it anyways. This is from John Probst. The following release says, coming out of Daytona, we have been working hand in hand with a lot of our race teams trying to largely break into two categories, things we could do. English, Jesus Christ. One are sporting related things like rules around pit stops or stage lengths or things of that nature. The other being in a technical bucket, which would mean car changes such as spoiler, power level, things of that nature. As we went through all of our options, not just with NASCAR, but even with the teams, there's a little bit of reluctance to just make wholesale changes to any of the technical stuff in the middle of the season for fear of the unintended consequences, which I assume is like horsepower related stuff. And, I think horsepower is honestly what that mostly is. If you look at generally how a lot of our speedways were laid out, it was a short stage, and then a long stage to the end. Going into Talladega, we're going to flip that and adjust the lengths of the final two stages such that we're confident that the last 2 stages are short enough to be made without a fuel stop. Could be interesting as well in that first stage, the length of it, if there's some that try to do it on 1 stop versus that try to do it on 2. We think that if there are some that try to do it on 2, they may drag the group that tried to do it on 1 along with them to where they won't be able to do it in 1. So it's got the potential there for pretty interesting strategies. Okay, so that being said, there was a clip of DBC where they had, and I want to listen to this since we're talking about this rule change. This is what they had to say, having Steve O'Donnell, the president of NASCAR, by the way, on the show. This is what they had to say about this rule change.
The changes made to Talladega stages will be enough to end fuel mileage racing. Spot on, spot off.
Spot off. It's a small step. I'm glad you said that. I don't want fans to think that that's a game changer. The strategy, it's fascinating how much it's changed. So it's on us to kind of keep going. You know, the stages, as we came up with them, we had a certain mentality of how you do it. Now it's totally flipped because we want to try something new. But I don't want fans thinking that's the be-all, end-all.
It's hard to pass is why we've kind of gotten to this, and it's hard to pass when everybody is all out. My biggest concern is we have a planned caution that's going to be with whatever you want to say, 40, 50 to go, something like that. So we're going to save up to that point because we know that we can jump guys on pit road on the end of the stage 2. I think we're all going to be pushing wide open at the end, and I'm worried we're going to end up with 2x2, hard to form that third lane again.
The changes.
So I don't think that that's the case. Look, here's the issue that we've had is the fact that guys for large swaths of a stage at the ends of the race are just sitting and are going 10, 15 miles an hour slower than what they normally do. If you're fuel saving at the beginning of the race, that's different. You know, I don't think that no matter what you do, fuel saving is inevitably a part of super speedway racing because, and I don't know if I felt like this was always a thing, but, or if it is really just started with the next gen car, but it's the idea of trying to, in some people's cases, it's trying to cut out a pit stop, but in other cases, it is trying to, if you sit in the pack, this is just obviously the strategy of fuel saving. If you sit in the pack and you save fuel, when you get to the end or when you get to the next pit stop or you know, whatever, if you have more fuel in your car than the guys in front of you, you don't have to spend as much time on pit road, obviously. And so therefore you can leapfrog all those people. I don't think that is inevitably going to get out of this type of racing. A lot of it has to obviously do with the car. But I don't think that it's not like, oh, this just doesn't do anything. I think that it helps in the sense that it's a right step it's a step in the right direction as far as, okay, at least now the boring part might be at the beginning of the race. And maybe to what was his name? Jim Polpst? What I said his name was? Maybe to Jim Polpst point, the idea of having the first stage with differing strategies is a possibility. I mean, we all know that manufacturers are going to hook up and Chevys will be with Chevys, Toyotas, and Fords with Fords. So they'll come up with a game plan as far as what they think is the best, but it's interesting to a degree, but I also think that when you are all, and I think it's now with this car, they've gotten better about it. When you're all pushing as hard as you are in those last 2 stages where you're not saving fuel, that third line can form. That third line can get it figured out, and they can generate some speed, and they can make something happen in that top lane. It might take a little bit of extra time, and it might take, some guys willing to just give up spots and just try the third lane to see if it can work. But we've seen it happen how many times last year and this year at super speedways where, yes, for most of the race it is 2x2, but then there's a point where guys in the back get a little bit of a run or they bump out to that third lane, and then you get enough people in that third lane to where it starts to generate somewhat of a run, and then then the third lane can work. This is just the type of super speedway racing that we have. So yes, it comes down to that fact of, all right, well, yeah, we're going to try to make the more exciting part at the end of the race rather than the beginning. So I don't think it's the worst thing. I think it's a help. I don't think it's worth just being like, it's nothing. It's a help. So, one last piece of news that I got to get to. Good God. We're talking about so much different stuff here. Speaking of Talladega, Cletus did not get approved for Talladega. I don't remember the exact reasoning. I could pull up the thing here. He, unfortunately, because of the multiple incidents that happened at Rockingham, NASCAR did not approve his ability to race at Talladega. And look, if we're looking at it objectively, and I'm being fair, if you were to ask me, say, hey, there's this guy, raced at Rockingham, it's his first ever O'Reilly Series race. He wrecked on, 3 or 4 separate occasions. Some of them were his fault. Actually, most of them were his fault. But he walked away with a clean car. He was like 3 or 4 laps down or whatever. Would you allow him to race at Talladega? And I was looking at it as far as like, hey, I want to be truly integral and that everybody's held to the same standard. And I only want the best of the best, and we're not just letting anybody out here. Then I would say no. I would agree with Dale. I would agree with a lot of different people in the objective term of no, he should not be approved for Talladega, where one false move can end 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 different people's races. You have to be I would want the best of the best to be racing in those types of scenarios. I mean, hell, I would want the best of the best to just be racing in any race that I sanctioned. That being said, we aren't living in that world. We are living in a world where the Truck Series is allowing a Hollywood actor to race full-time every week. We are allowing multiple drivers on part-time schedules to show up to, again, random super speedway races. Natalie Decker. And just flat out ARCA brake people, unskilled, spin on their own, screw people's races up, just stupid ass decisions. And yet for some reason, those people are allowed to continuously race in the O'Reilly Series and the Cup Series and the Truck Series. And yet somehow, some way, it's not acceptable for Cletus. I would love to hear the response of the DVC people and Dale Jr. and all the other people that aren't approving of Cletus. And I would have to ask them why they're okay with Natalie Decker showing up every week. Or not every week, but in the weeks that she shows up. Why are they okay with her showing up and wrecking people? Why should she be allowed to race and not Cletus? Why should Catherine Legg be allowed to race Cup Series races, having never raced a Cup Series race before, and being kind of a moving chicane out there most times? Why is she allowed to race? Why is a Hollywood actor allowed to race full-time in the Truck Series? Why is the smattering amount of people who, to go back to the original point that I started the podcast with, why are the smattering amount of people who get opportunities because of the fact that they are in the, the NASCAR family, the quote NASCAR family, why are they allowed to get rides and get opportunities and get chance after chance after chance, no matter how bad they are? And there's no question about them. As a matter of fact, it's encouraged and it's congratulated. And yet somehow, some way, it's not okay for somebody else who's not a direct relation or family member or friend or whomever as a part of the sport. The double standard, to me, is very prevalent when it comes to Cletus. Now, again, if we are looking at it from the objective standpoint of, like, would I approve of him? Like I said, no. I would want to see him. I would ask him to run Kansas before I would give him a chance to run Talladega again. And he's not doing that. He's just not going to run Talladega. I don't know if he'll run again for the rest of the season. I feel like he will try. I don't see why not. But that's the thing that frustrates me, is the fact that some people are allowed to continuously show up without repercussion for no matter how bad they are, and yet other people are immediately ostracized, immediately pushed to the side, no matter how much more fanfare they bring in. I mean, let's be honest here. More people are showing up to watch Cletus McFarland race than Natalie Decker or Catherine Legg or even Frankie Muniz. So to me, this idea that we can't allow Cletus to race while we're allowing all these other people to race is laughable to me. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Natalie is probably going to be in that O'Reilly Series race in a couple weeks. And I can't wait until that race happens and she's involved in something that she probably could have easily avoided. And then I will come on this show and I will ask this same question again. Why is she allowed to continuously keep racing? And she's not told she can't show up to an O'Reilly Series race and she's got to go back to trucks or back to ARCA to figure some shit out. And yet Cletus is not even allowed the chance. You can't have it both ways. You're either full entertainment or you're full sport. You can't be one thing or the other when it's convenient. We don't want to ostracize the woman. God forbid we ostracize the woman. We'll be labeled something that we don't want to be labeled by no one. And we can't ostracize the Hollywood movie star guy. We can't ostracize Malcolm in the Middle. I'm not even saying Frankie's been that bad. It's more so just the idea that we selectively pick certain people. That again, I mean, Cletus, there was also that like, well, what if he did? Well, he didn't. He didn't mess up anybody's race. What if he did, though? I mean, what if somebody got involved in any of those 4 wrecks that he was in? You mean like how many other people did the entire race as well at Rockingham? Rockingham's not exactly easy. And yes, the O'Reilly Series is secondary. And like Jeremy Clements lost the car by himself. And how many other people lost the car by themselves? How many people lose the fucking car by themselves every week? How many people lost the car by themselves this past weekend at Bristol? But, Cletus he's not in the NASCAR family, though. He's not a part of the family. He's an outsider. He'll never be a part of the family. I find it ridiculous. I do. Like I said, if you want it to be taken seriously in the system as far as working your way up, being earned by actually good runs in ARCA and actually good runs in Truck and actually good runs in the O'Reilly series, then that's one thing. Then fine. Yes, Cletus should not have immediately went to the O'Reilly series right off the rip and gotten that opportunity. I would agree with that. He probably should have spent more time, and not just, probably more time in ARCA. Because if you're going by that standard, I don't think he would have ran enough races in ARCA. Let alone trucks. I mean, he ran one truck race that he was wrecked in 6 laps. So if you're going by that standard, then yes, I agree. But that's not the standard. The standard is, do you have enough money? Do you know the right person? Do you have the right friends? That's the standard. It's not based off talent. It's based off of who you know. So, hey, Cletus, you knew enough people and you're popular enough to get one. But I don't know, it's selective. He's not a part of the family. That's really what I think it comes down to. All right, let's get to the last couple things and get out of here. Top 10 following Bristol in the Cup Series. Got a couple of changes here. Last week's top 10 I did not do for Rockingham, so we'll do 2 weeks ago's top 10 was Tyler Reddick, number 1, Ryan Blaney, 2, Denny Hamlin, 3, Chase Elliott, 4, Ty Gibbs was 5, Christopher Bell was 6, Bubba Wallace was 7, Chase Briscoe was 8, William Byron was 9, and Austin Cindric snuck in at the 10th spot. This week, a little bit different. Number 10, following Bristol, I have to give it to Joey. Joey has had 2 good runs at 2 short tracks, although he was like a 30-something at Darlington a few weeks ago. These last couple weeks, he's ran much better. They've either showed up with the right setup or he showed up with his head out of his ass, one of the two. But he's all of a sudden showed up with speed. Late in run at Bristol, had himself a nice finish. So he sneaks in at number 10 for me this week. Number 9, Kyle Larson. Last couple weeks has been fine. This last week was really what kind of propelled him. A very good run at Bristol where he led a lot of laps. Won both stages. Have to reward him for that. Still towards the front in points, so he gets number 9 for this week. And a lot of it honestly has to do with, like, speaking of guys running 30th, I mean, William Byron was just god awful this week. I don't know what happened there. So it's another reason why we got to open up some spots, and Kyle Larson gets one of the open spots. Number 8, Bubba Wallace, kind of slowly just falling off the board here. I'm not sure how much longer he'll last in the top 10 if he keeps just running okay. I mean, it's not like he's been terrible. That's why he's still in the top 10, but he's just not had the speed that his teammates had, and it's starting to show more and more as we get longer and longer into the season. And as far as the standings go, I mean, he's 8th right now, so not the worst, but I mean, there's people right behind him. Christopher Bell in 9th is 5 behind him. Chris Buescher's 6 behind him. Brad Case 7. Joey Logano, even though how bad he is or has been, he's only 18 behind him. So 1 or 2 bad races for Bubba, and I don't even mean bad as in like not finishing. I mean just bad as in like running 20th or something. You know, miss the setup like some of these other guys. Could really fall down the list here. Number 7, Christopher Bell, another one where didn't have the greatest run at Bristol this past weekend, finished 27th, but I believe he was he had a wreck in that race as well. Pretty sure he got spun. Looking back really quick. Yeah, he was running second and had some trouble, hit the wall. Had a pit road penalty, so he had the speed, but even though he didn't get the finish, I don't want to punish him too badly for it. He still had speed at the beginning part of the race. So he's 7. Number 6, Chase Elliott. Falling down the list a bit here. He did not have the speed last weekend at Bristol. Even though he had the speed at the right time at Martinsville last week and held off Denny Hamlin, he did not have the speed this week. Finished 22nd behind Riley Herbst, a lap down. Like, just not very good on speed. I mean, he was behind Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, Stenhouse, some guys that he definitely should have been faster than. So rough week for Chase. So he drops a few spots in the power rankings. Number 5, Chase Briscoe. About time some of these good runs are starting to result in some good finishes. Some speed that he actually has in the car is actually starting to result in some good finishes and running up towards the front for the entire race, not just a part of the race. Finished 5th. Didn't lead any laps, but got some stage points. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4th in stage 1 and 5th in stage 2. He was up front the whole race. He's had speed every week, but it's like I've said every week. It's a matter of finding the speed and keeping it, or he'll have speed at the beginning and then just lose it. Don't step on your dick. Don't do something stupid where you blow a tire or some sort of mechanical issue. That's not really his fault. I guess I'm more meaning the team don't step on your dicks. Number 4, Denny Hamlin drops a spot from last week. Still had an okay run, all things considered. Finished 9th. Wasn't one of the fastest guys, but hey, he's been one of the fastest guys every single week. Don't want to hurt him too much on the power rankings. Have to drop him a spot though, because number 3 is Ty Gibbs. Couple spots up the rankings after his win this past weekend at Bristol. Look, was he the fastest guy? No. It was either Larson for the first couple stages or it was Blaney. And at the end of the day, it's not really always about who's the fastest. Sometimes it's about decision making. Sometimes it's about strategy. He gets his first win kind of off strategy and held off Blaney there at the end. So, hey, kudos to Ty. He's been running well. Like I said earlier, he's been running well every single week. Top 5s, top 10s. So, gets to be number 3 on the list. Number 2, speaking of Ryan Blaney, it's Ryan Blaney. He hasn't had the finishes, and a lot of it, or not finishes, he hasn't had the wins, and a lot of it I really think is just simply his fucking pit crew has been so bad. I don't know what their rank is coming out of Bristol, but I'm pretty sure they were ranked 35th coming into Bristol. I mean, it's so bad. I don't understand how you can have a team that just can't. Their sole job is every day they show up and they practice the same fucking thing. They show up, they practice their pit strategy, they practice pit road, they practice changing tires, they practice doing the jack, and yet they get into the fucking race and they just drop the ball every fucking time, it seems. They're always losing spots on pit road, like always. So then Ryan is always playing catch up. I don't know how he's how he hasn't lost his mind yet over this. I'd be losing my mind if I was constantly faster than all these people ahead of me. I'd pass them and then I have to repass them all over again because a bunch of guys on pit road keep dropping the ball. Like, I'd be losing my mind. But kudos to Ryan. I guess he's kept his composure about it. But he's number 2 for the week in power rankings, and number 1 is still Tyler Reddick. But I have to say, even though Ryan hasn't been winning these races, the gap to me, as far as first and second on my power rankings, it's getting close. Ryan has consistently over these last couple weeks been faster than Tyler, has ran better than Tyler, and the only difference, like I said, has been the pit crew. The pit crew has been the biggest thing that has held Ryan back every single week. And if not for his pit crew, I'm pretty sure he'd have a couple more wins maybe. Because he's had some race-winning speed at some of these tracks he hasn't won at. And the pit crew has been the thing that has cost him those wins. So the gap is closing, as is the point standings. The point standings gap is also closing. I mean, Ryan's got it down to 62. If he keeps this going, that whole Tyler will be a guaranteed top 3 thing. He might not be guaranteed top number one, though. Ryan keeps running the way he has. I mean, it's funny, too. Like, the top 3 out of the top 4 spots is Toyotas. It's Tyler Reddick 1, Denny Hamlin 3, and Ty Gibbs 4. Everyone said, I mean, Toyota has dominated as far as speed every single week. If it's not Hamlin, it's Bell. If it's not Bell, it's Briscoe. If it's not Briscoe, it's Gibbs. If it's not Gibbs, it's Reddick. If it's not Reddick, it's Wallace. But Blaney has been the standout guy every week, it seems, in a camp where you don't really expect Ford to be that good. And you look at across the board, too. The next Ford guy in the point standings is Chris Buescher. And, I mean, Chris has not had race-winning speed, I don't think, at any track this season. Maybe besides Darlington. But even at Darlington, I mean, he was going to be third at best, second at best, I should say. As long as Reddick didn't completely get into a giant wreck or have something break or something like that at the end of the race. Reddick was going to make up all those mistakes they had previously in the race and was going to get back to the lead. He had the best car by far. But, I mean, he maybe could have beat Brad at Darlington, but I don't think he had any chance of beating Tyler. So, I mean, yeah, he had one race where he was top 2, top 3 speed, but besides that, I mean, he's just been kind of existing, around the top 10 spot, just outside top 10. So, Ryan has been the extremely good exception for Ford so far this season. That being said, let's get into the 5 to watch heading into this next weekend at Kansas. The 5 guys I'd keep an eye on going into Kansas this weekend. Tyler Reddick, obviously number 1. Guys are going to be ripping that top. So I guess I can say Kyle Larson too right off the rip. Kyle Larson and Reddick are the 2 I'd keep an eye on. Those guys are going to be ripping the top. It's going to be vitally important to be very good at the wall. Those guys are the 2 of the best. I don't have Bell on this list, but I probably should keep Bell. I should probably put Bell on this list, but I'm not going to. He's an honorable mention. I'll say that. The other 2, I'd say, keep an eye on Ty Gibbs coming off of his first career victory this past weekend at Bristol. Like I said, he's had speed everywhere that we've went. And, usually once you get that first win, you get that weight off your shoulder. You kind of feel freer. You race a little bit freer. You're not as tight. Keep an eye on Gibbs this weekend to keep that momentum going forward. And based off of the whole Joey Logano running terrible at Darlington and then subsequently running well the next 2 weeks after that, after being embarrassed at Darlington, I expect the same thing from William Byron. So I'm watching William Byron this weekend at Kansas. He ran terrible last week at Bristol, had no speed whatsoever, was so off. I expect them to correct that this weekend at Kansas. Keep an eye on William Byron to rebound from last weekend's terrible run. My one underdog to watch is Carson Hocevar. Every single week, it seems like, yeah, he's had good speed, hasn't been able to find it as far as running top 5 or competing for the win. Maybe this weekend is different. If they can find the good setup, if they can get something together for him, have some good speed, Kansas should be okay for him. I don't know what his exact average finish is at Kansas off the top of my head, but based off of his previous finishes the last how many weeks, like at the end of Darlington a few weeks ago, like I said, had crazy good speed there at the end off the pit strategy. He's been a top 5, top 10 guy at points throughout, almost every race. He was a top 10 guy here this past weekend at Bristol too. I expect him to be a top 10, top 5 contender for Kansas this weekend. So that will do it. A nice long 2+ hour episode. Got to a lot of stuff. Got to talk about a lot of stuff in this episode. So if you stuck till the end, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, all the shits. Do all the shits for me, guys. Get back in that comments section. Adam, if you made it to this point in the show, Go into the comments section and say something, dude. Let me know you're still listening. Be a good friend. And that's not just for Adam. That's for everybody. Anybody who made it to this point in the fucking podcast. Be a good friend. Say something in the comment section. I don't give a fuck what you say in the comment section. Say anything. Well, I should temper that. Don't just say anything. Don't say something that I'd have to delete. Say something that is allowed on YouTube. How about that? Say something like that. I will see y'all next week. Hopefully Kansas will provide a good cup race. That'll be the only thing I'm going to really talk about. I don't think I'm going to talk about the ARCA race. I think I'll just skip over that. Unless something stupid crazy happens in the ARCA race, I think I'll probably just skip over that. We'll talk mostly about Cup and cover all the news that will probably happen right after this podcast goes up on a Tuesday, because that's usually how it works. But again, I appreciate y'all for listening. Hope y'all enjoy the weekend races this weekend at Kansas, and I will see y'all same time next week. Take it easy.